Welcome to Securing Your Brand with SecureMark Legal. On this podcast, we break down the legal side of branding and protecting your business without the legalese. From trademark, copyright, and contracting tips to real-world case studies, we're here to help you safeguard your business, your brand, and reputation. We are here to help entrepreneurs, creatives, and business owners protect what they've built through smart, strategic IP solutions.
Welcome back to Securing Your Brand with SecureMark Legal, the podcast where we talk about how to build, grow, and protect your business through smart branding and trademark strategies. I'm Melissa Jetta, a trademark attorney who helps entrepreneurs protect their brand they've worked so hard to build.
And I'm Holly McFall, your co-host, trademark and copyright attorney. Each month, we sit down with industry leaders, entrepreneurs, and brand experts. We're talking about an issue that comes up more and more in our work with business owners: cybersecurity and scams.
We're joined by Jesus Caseres, who works directly with small businesses on IT and security issues.
Jesus is the director of QEH2 Miami, working with the local business owners to ensure their technology is reliable, secure, and aligned with how their businesses operate day to day. He takes a practical, thoughtful approach to IP, focusing on clarity, trust, and long-term stability rather than quick fixes or unnecessary complexity.
As a Miami native business owner himself, Jesus understands the demand of local markets and prides himself on being accessible, proactive, and accountable to the organizations he supports.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for having me. And I think this is a very important conversation that we're about to have.
Yes. Okay. So to start us off, when you work with small business owners, how do they usually think about cybersecurity, if at all?
Yeah, most owners think about cybersecurity the same way they think about plumbing, right? They assume that everything's fine until something starts leaking.
Exactly.
They're focused on the important things, right? The customers, the payroll, growth. So security just becomes whatever keeps the computers working. Usually the first time it feels real is when there's a scare, like a weird invoice comes in or someone's email gets hacked, a ransom pop-up. So that's when it really starts feeling real.
Yes, for
Kind
sure.
of like we experience in trademarks, like clients sometimes don't come to us until there's a problem instead of being like more proactive about this and like thinking about this ahead of time. How do I protect my business? How do I protect what I've grown in my business? And then also, how do I protect others from coming into that, whether electronically or in any other way? It's always important to think about protection also.
Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about the different types of IT. Let's even just define IT, because people out there don't understand what IT is, security risks, and what we are often not looking at.
Sure. So IT, information technology, right? It's just how technology helps us manage our data and able to be able to share it with our coworkers and collaborate and, really start scaling our business, right? That's what IT is meant to do, is to help for technology to help us do our job the most effectively. In a nutshell, that's what IT is.
So what is the main small business risks that you're seeing now?
Oh man. So, people think since nothing is happening, it's winning, right? So when security is working, it's invisible. So it's hard to prioritize IT when there's no real pain. So a lot of people assume that scammers or attackers go after these big companies, but in reality, it's the small businesses like us that are the easier targets because we're busy and we don't have all of these layers of protections that the big guys do.
Are there any particular threats or patterns that tend to affect small businesses more than larger organizations?
Absolutely. They get hit with the same threats, but the attackers are usually, simpler, higher success tactics like impersonating somebody, making invoice fraud, or they're reusing passwords. So these larger organizations, they have teams, they have staff that are monitoring and watching these logs and blocking suspicious logins. These small businesses usually don't. So attackers can sit in your inbox for weeks, you don't know, and then they'll actually wait for the perfect time to attack. So the classic one is that the small business is hit with a vendor payment change. So that scammer will actually watch real email threads and then reply at the perfect moment with, hey, we updated our banking info, send the payment here. And it looks legit because it was inside that real conversation.
Wow.
So
Mhm.
not having that larger team that's, used to your billing and has procedures and has the steps to go through to prevent that kind of thing, they're going to click on that and be like, yeah, this is how I pay my next invoice. And I can really see where that would make the risk harder to even recognize for a smaller business.
Yeah, not only do the business owners not have the time, they don't have the visibility. So if nobody's monitoring the sign-ins, the mailbox rules, the endpoint alerts, the first real alert then is that vendor calling or that money missing. So I've seen owners assume my employee just clicked on something, but the real problem is that there was no guardrails, right? No multi-factor authentication, no conditional accesses, no alerting. So that one click turned into full access.
Really make your operating procedures, what your employees do, and what their actions are when they receive an email, when they receive something they don't understand, or even what our procedures are if something does happen. Really more important to have those like set up ahead of time.
Definitely. That's where we come in with, we would meet with you and really go through those hard talk points of what if and what happens when.
So let's walk through a common scenario. If someone at a business clicks on a phishing link or realizes they may have shared information, what should they focus on doing right away?
Yeah, that's a good question, and it happens a lot. So, what we like to teach our clients is stop, contain, notify, and then preserve. So, stop means stop clicking on stuff, stop entering more info. As soon as you realize, stop.
Don't
Okay?
panic.
It's important. Don't panic. Contain just means to isolate that device from like the Wi-Fi. So turn off Wi-Fi. If you suspect that it's an email password scenario, change your password. Notify, let your IT team know, let the internal point person that you guys have hopefully assigned know, and then preserve. Don't delete anything, right? We need this as your IT team and legal team. We need this evidence to kind of go on and resolve this and continue the investigation on what happened. So don't feel embarrassed. It happens all the time. Don't delete anything because we're going to need that information to help.
Yeah, that don't panic in those early moments, like actions to help and like limit the damage is a big thing. Making sure you don't ignore, but you don't panic and freeze at the same time too. Besides disconnecting, what other things should we do to avoid making this mistake, to avoid, clicking on an email or a phishing email in that regard?
Right. So if we're talking damage control now, I don't really expect business owners to do all of this. So your IT should be, but if you want to know, like I said, reset the passwords and revoke all sessions that are active. That's the fastest way to cut off the access to the bad guys. You want to check the email forwarding rules, right? A lot of times they set up email forwarding rules and you don't even know where your email's going. You want to look for any new users that were created, new devices that were added to MFA. You want to notify the bank if there's any info, any financial info that might have gotten exposed. Things that we would keep on doing is scanning that machine if there was a file that was downloaded or executed. And some of the mistakes that you want to avoid is, again, don't feel embarrassed. Speed matters here. So don't feel like you have to handle it quiet and you're on your own. Notify the right people, notify the team. Don't delete anything before IT or legal can review it. And don't assume it's over because you changed the password, right? I've seen a company change the password but missed the attacker's inbox rule that forwarded all of the emails that used the word invoice to an external address. So they kept getting hit because the attacker still had the information. They don't need the password anymore.
And that's really where you come in. That's where your team at QEH2 comes in to be able to set
Exactly.
up and then stop what's going on. So it's not just change your password, but we're going to look beyond that.
It's a very complicated framework, and I don't expect, the common business owner to do it. That's where we would come in and implement these frameworks and give you that peace of mind.
These kind of like impersonation issues often happen not only in cybersecurity, and they often happen in the real world where someone's brand and someone else is using your brand or using your website or using your, we call them shopping cart sites such as Etsy or Amazon, and they're stealing that kind of impersonation. That kind of impersonation happens all over, the internet, not just someone getting into your system and going through cybersecurity that way.
What types of scams are you seeing that specifically target business owners or leadership teams?
Yeah, that's a good question. Number one is definitely impersonation. So people impersonating the owner or the actual brand. Vendor payment changes, so changing up the account numbers and stuff like that. Payroll diversion is kind of a new one too. So they're changing the direct deposit details of your employees.
Oh, wow.
Fake legal or trademark compliance notices demanding urgent payments. So they might get a fake email from the US Patent Office like, hey, your renewal's up, you have to pay now.
Yeah.
Or even fake IT support. So they'll pretend that they're Microsoft, like your Microsoft account is being shut down, log in here. And when you enter your login credentials, you just gave them the keys to the kingdom. So,
Right.
and unfortunately, business owners are the ones that are targeted because they have the authority and they're busy. So they rely on that you're too busy to verify who they are.
It makes it really important to have a team behind you that understands what you're doing, understands what your business purpose is, and kind of takes that off of your plate. We say that a lot, that we take your brand protection off your plate. You're going to get that scam email. You're going to get that phishing call where they're even using the same area code, or it may call, if you call it back, it may call back the USPTO. So next time they call again, you think it's really coming from a legitimate source.
Correct. They borrow the credibility, right? Those real logos, your email signatures. Like I said, they'll even reply within the email threads. So they'll use whatever looks good. There's a lot of psychology involved. And then a lot of times, the major red flags are that they manufacture urgency. Like, I need this before the end of day. If, they're talking like the management team, or if they're talking like the patent office, to avoid penalties or lawsuit or last chance type of things. So whenever you see them use pressure or secrecy, like don't loop in the team, just handle it, major red flag.
So, what advice do you give business owners to help them slow down and evaluate suspicious requests?
We like to teach our clients to make it more cultural. So create like a simple phrase like no verification, no payment. So that's just something that everybody has to kind of fall in line with.
Mm-hmm.
So any request involving money, credentials, or any sensitive info has to get a two-step verification here. So another way to verify too is to, have a known good channel. So you call that person directly and say, hey, did I receive this email from you? Is this legit?
Right.
So I always tell people, if the email says I'm in a meeting and I can't talk, that's exactly when you must talk and pick up the phone, because it's very common.
Interesting. Yep.
Yeah, and business owners are overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed by their day-to-day process. They're overwhelmed by what they need to do to get their business running. They're not checking or looking out for these. So let's give some practical tips. Where do small businesses start?
A lot of owners feel like they're behind, like what you said, they're so busy. That's normal. What I tell people is, don't try to boil the ocean. Start where the impact is biggest, with your emails, your logins, and your financial workflows. Easiest way is to schedule a quick meeting with me and my team, and we'll just be able to help you pick the starting point that matches your risk and your budget. That's going to be the easiest way.
Which basic practices tend to reduce risk the most without adding a lot of complexity?
That's a great question. A lot of people feel like, there's a lot of changes that'll slow us down and stuff like that. So my big three that are, high impact but kind of low drama, MFA and having unique passwords. So there's great password managers out there right now that you don't even have to remember all these passwords. You have one password for that. And then within that database, it'll generate super complex passwords. It'll save them there. You don't have to worry about them. Number two, having backups, and not just backups, but testing them and making sure that they're not accessible to the attacker, because what's the point of having a backup if it's also compromised, right?
Mhm.
And then just having the security awareness and that training your team to be focused on, looking out for those fake emails and that verification piece of verify who you're paying and stuff like that. That's the biggest.
We have in-house IT for our law firm, and he is always making us change our passwords every 30 days and handing us new passwords. I love the idea, that kind of the password safe, that like balances the need for security with convenience and not making it feel so overwhelming.
Exactly, because security should protect the business without becoming the business, right? You don't want maximum lockdown. You just want, good controls. So what we prioritize is let's protect the revenue, protect the customer data, and protect operations. Because if a control prevents a $50,000 mistake, it's worth an extra 10 seconds to, verify that code or whatever.
Mhm.
A cost of risk analysis is right there. If we can protect this without having to, yes, it's going to take an extra few seconds, maybe even a full extra minute, but the
Yeah,
cost of risk analysis is something you really need to weigh.
it's a no-brainer. People hate multi-factor until they don't get that paycheck, and then they're like, "Oh, multi-factor is very convenient."
I complain about the multi-factor all day long, and I'm always yelling at some assistant somewhere going, he changed the passwords again. I know. They're like, no, you didn't type it in right. Think again. It's still the same password. We're doing a password safe, Holly. We're totally implementing that.
So, how important is it for businesses to have a plan in place before a cybersecurity incident occurs?
How important? The most
Mhm.
important, I would say. Like, there's a saying that goes, "If you fail to plan, you plan to fail," right?
Mhm.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
and a plan just means who decides what, who calls the bank, who calls IT, who calls legal, what systems get isolated, and then how you communicate. So the biggest difference between a contained event and a nightmare is often those first 60 minutes. So that one pager, something easy, like a checklist, can save you days of work. So, and that's where we come in again, right? We help you do this planning and stuff like that because it can get pretty complicated depending on the systems that you rely on for your business.
You work with small businesses. This is exactly what you do. You work with the businesses that are developing this, going through their IT. I know you work with larger corporations too, but you help us get this set up so we know exactly where we're supposed to go when. It's not even if, it's when something's going to happen, because
Yeah,
cyber breach are so common. Who in our business is and should be involved in that, setting up that plan? And then, is it all the employees? How is that kind of work?
sure. It's a great question. So definitely IT. That should be the first one. We're gonna help contain it. We're gonna help investigate and then recover from it as fast as possible. Legal should definitely get involved. They're gonna help us preserve the evidence. Sometimes there's obligations to notify in certain vendor contracts that legal has to comply with, and that'll help with the takedowns. The bank, obviously, they're going to help us, freeze any transfers, recall any wires, secure the accounts again if that, security event was a financial one. Certain insurance policies, for cyber liability insurance also require notification just to, comply with any coverage requirements and stuff like that. And then I would focus it just on leadership. Not everybody has to know. You don't want news spreading quickly, but leadership in terms of the ownership and one or two key players in your small business is going to help with the decision making, and then having that consistent communication with that key board of people that are going to help you go through this.
Mhm. So, from your perspective, how can IT professionals and legal advisors work together more effectively in these situations?
Yeah, these situations, when legal and IT kind of collaborate early, everything is so much cleaner, right? The evidence is preserved, communications are consistent, and you really reduce your liability and your reputational damage. So I personally love when there's a pre-built relationship with legal, so that we're not swapping business cards during the actual like event, right? That's the worst.
We've met,
So
we've talked to each other.
exactly, like we already have that rapport. We know what to do and when because we went through that planning phase. So A quick example, if somebody gets impersonated, is that we, the IT team, would handle the email authentication, the monitoring, the domain controls, and then legal would handle the trademark enforcement and that takedown process, so that together, we stop both the technical problem, but that trust problem, that reputational damage has to get addressed ASAP.
This has been great. Let's kind of do a takeaway, the three things businesses can do today. So if we're shifting our mindset for small businesses from being reactive instead of proactive, what are the three things that our small businesses should start today?
Number one, shift from cybersecurity is an IT expense to it's like risk management. It's the locks on your doors and the controls on your bank accounts. Like that has to change. You don't need perfection. You just need consistent basics, right? So small businesses, they don't need this enterprise level complexity. They just need dependable, reliable tools, right? So you're not too small to get targeted. Attackers don't pick targets based on fame. They pick targets based on ease, right? People always say, oh, we have an antivirus, so we're good. Like antivirus is one layer of the onion of cybersecurity. And most incidents still happen through email and stealing identities and stuff like that. So
it's probably the easiest way to get into someone's business is through their email. I mean, that's directly linked to everything in your computer. Yeah. It's literally like leaving the door without a lock on. And it's probably open on everyone's computer all the time. Even when they leave work, they stay logged in to their email.
Laptops, iPads, phones, it's so much easier nowadays.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights, giving us tips. I feel like this topic kind of became a little bit more approachable for small businesses. We now have someone that we can reach out to, we can ask questions to, and it made it feel maybe a little less scary, like something I got to leave on the back burner and ignore it until it becomes a problem.
I hope not.
Yeah, it's helpful to see how cybersecurity connects directly to brand protection and overall business health.
Yeah, I think this was a great discussion, and thanks again for having me.
So, Jesus, would you like to let our audience know how they can get in touch with you?
Oh, absolutely. So you can reach me. The simplest way is going to be by phone at 786-768-0918, or you can email me at jcaseres@qh2.com. We can also connect directly on LinkedIn. So if you just search my name, I'm sure I'll be one of the first ones, and we can connect through there.
All right, excellent. So thanks for tuning in to Securing Your Brand with SecureMark Legal. If you enjoyed today's episode, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur.
We'd love to hear from you. We love to answer questions. We love to talk to you about your brand protection, and we'd be happy to connect you with Jesus so that you can have your business protected.
Until then, keep creating, keep building, and keep protecting your brand.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.